And we are live. We are live and actually having follow-up coverage. The midterms. The midterms are now in the history books. The 2022 midterms are now behind us. Are you glad? For you folks who got tired of the political ads, maybe some phone calls if you don't have the stop voicemail calls on your phone, seeing it all over the internet. Are you happy that the election is now over and you're not going to see the political ads saturating TV and things like that? In addition to that, are you happy with how the election turned out? Red wave? Red tsunami? The Democrats were literally going to be choking on red waves and spitting up red-colored water as we drowned in the red wave. What happened? What happened? Now, that's what we're going to be talking about right off the bat. What happened that has led to the outcome? I see in the comments, it's not quite over yet, still counting, says 49 John, Nebraska 420. You're right. You are correct. It is not over yet. The Republicans still have the power, they still have the ability, rather, to take both the House and Senate. However, no one expected to wake up this morning with that type of an outcome, where the Republicans were still fighting to take control of the House and Senate. I believe the Senate right now, if I'm correct, what is it, 46 or 48 or something like that, meaning that if the Republicans somehow eke out a victory of the Senate, it's going to be by the slimmest of margins, meaning that it'll be very similar to what the Democrats were doing, whereas we had for the most part, 50-50 with Kamala Harris being the one to call the difference. And we had issues with Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin the entire time. Keep in mind, if Trump had the same majority in the Senate that Biden has right now, he would have been impeached because Mitt Romney joined the Democrats and voted for him to be impeached. So fortunately for Trump, he had a bigger majority than Biden has. So that's the problem with winning the Senate, but barely doing it. Make no mistake about it, no matter how you look at this, and I see Crispy Chris in the comments is saying Georgia and Arizona are not done. You're right. But make no mistake about it, the Republicans definitely underperformed. I had someone come on the show a week or two ago and told me the Republicans were going to walk away with 58 Senate seats. Not even close. And I'll tell you this, Herschel Walker is up for a real hardcore uphill battle. Why do I say that? Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, similar to DeSantis, maybe not as strong as DeSantis, but Governor Kemp is also highly respected. And he, just like Ron DeSantis, has the power to drag others across the finish line. When you have a well-respected governor, a lot of folks vote straight ticket, and that helps other down ballot applicants, down ballot candidates win as well. So no doubt, Ron DeSantis helped people like Marco Rubio and helped drag them across the finish line. In Georgia, on the other hand, although Brian Kemp won by a landslide, he beat Stacey Abrams rather handedly, somehow Herschel Walker did not enjoy the fruits of Brian Kemp. Very similar to how Brian Kemp won in 2020, or the Republicans won in Georgia in 2020, but Trump lost. Meaning the Georgia voters in Georgia are able to separate politicians under the same party. They'll pick one Republican and say the other one sucks. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because when Herschel Walker has a runoff, December 6th is the day they're stating that the runoff election will be, he doesn't have Brian Kemp at the top of the ticket to drag him through. On December 6th, when Georgia voters cast their ballots, it's strictly going to be for Warnock or Walker. That's it. There's not going to be any other folks on the ticket. And it seems pretty clear that a large portion of Georgia's not big fans of Walker. I would contend that excitement for getting rid of liberals, cancel culture, CRT in schools and shit like that probably caused a lot of Georgians to show up to vote and vote straight Republican on a ticket. That same enthusiasm is not going to be there for Walker. I don't expect Walker to win is the point I'm trying to make. I do not expect Walker to win. I expect it to be very similar to what happened in 2020 when Georgia had a runoff then and they were able to topple both Senate seats in Georgia. Stacey Abrams, I'm sure she's unhappy with losing. She did lose legitimately, but she'll probably be out making sure voters get in there and vote for Warnock again. So we'll see. I don't believe Walker will win, Crispy Chris. I do not see it. I don't believe. Essentially, because Georgia currently has a rule where you have to receive 50% of the vote plus one, that's why you have the runoff. But technically, Herschel Walker has already lost. Herschel Walker, based on the election we had yesterday, received less votes than Warnock. Warnock just did not have a big enough lead to satisfy the rules in the state, which is why they have to have a runoff. But just based on the raw count, Herschel Walker lost. I don't understand why you think he'd win the second time, but we'll see. We'll see if he'll win. I don't expect him to. Looking at the comments, having a hard time believing anyone would vote for a fake cop. I don't know why that man holds up his junior G-Man badge. I guess Herschel Walker considers himself to be G14 classified. Politically, this country is dysfunctional. At some point, we are going to decide how to separate. You know, as opposed to finding out how to separate, Charles Schwann, why don't we figure out how to unite? We are stronger united than we are divided. That is about the biggest cliche I can give you. What is it? United we stand, divided we fall. Why would you want to pursue separation? We enjoy the same landmass. Very similar to what the Confederates wanted to do based on, their unhappiness at the time. Both sides are going to share the Mississippi River. What happens? The North just says fuck the South and dumps all kinds of waste in the river. We have the same landmass. Separation on the same landmass is not in the best interest of this country. Period. Look at the Middle East. They have all kinds of separations on the same landmass. That shit doesn't work. Even Western Europe, which we favor, they have separations on the same landmass. And look at the history of Western Europe. It's not a good idea to separate. It's just not. Hopefully we never get to that. A house divided won't stand, which is another very popular statement. I think that's Lincoln. House divided won't stand. Not enough moderates in both parties. That is true, but I do believe if the Republicans wake up and put DeSantis at the top of the ticket, which as a liberal, I hope they do not do, because I'll tell you, the only reason Biden keeps having victories is because they keep sending Trump. Biden only got elected with his unfavorable poll numbers, history of racially charged statements. African Americans weren't big fans of Biden or any of that. The only reason why Biden got elected is because Trump was on the ballot. And the same shit happened again last night. The only reason the Democrats did okay, I won't say they didn't win, but the only reason why Democrats outperformed expectations once again is because Trump keeps interfering with the elections. All of the candidates Trump was out there preaching hardcore, campaigning heavy for, most of them lost. As long as the Republicans keep promoting Trump, the Democrats have a chance. I'm just going to tell you the Democrats have a chance because the amount of love that Ron DeSantis is getting in Florida, for us liberals, that's frightening. If you can get the Republican Party to galvanize behind Ron DeSantis, you guys got a formidable force on your hands. But hopefully, Trump still maintains the phrase of the late notorious B.I.G. I made you. Why would I play you? So if Trump continues to go after DeSantis on the guys that I made you and you owe your success to me, Ron DeSanctimonious, I believe is what he's already called him. If we can get Trump to attack Ron DeSantis, and I'll tell you, I'll go right to the box, but I would tell you if I was in control of a liberal media outlet, which obviously I'm not, just a little small corner of social media, talking to my beloved MAGA audience. And by the way, tap your screens. This is a MAGA-friendly program, despite what we're talking about here. MAGA's always welcome. I put you in the box. I guarantee you a solemn promise. I will never ban, block, or censor your comments. Fact that you may disagree with the host never means a damn thing. Give you plenty of time to state your point. But we're hoping that the right continues to promote Trump. That's our only hope, is that they will continue to promote Trump, because Trump continues to be chaotic, and there are enough Republicans that do not want to continue supporting chaos. If I was in control of a liberal media station, which is what I was about to say, I would strongly advise every liberal media station to continue to prop up DeSantis and point to the fact he's doing better than Trump. Point out Trump's failures. You need to literally draw Trump out of the woodwork, because if you keep making DeSantis look better than Trump, Trump is going to get pissed off based on his ego, and he's going to start attacking DeSantis. Just say statements like Trump is going to have to end up kissing DeSantis' ass. Whatever you can do to provoke Trump. Because we don't have a strong candidate in Biden. We need Trump to be Trump. So promote him to attack DeSantis. That would help us out a lot. Let me go back to the box. Crispy Chris, the Savage. Good afternoon and welcome. Crispy Chris, good afternoon. What's up?
Hello, sir. Give me 1 second. Let me turn on my Wi-Fi real quick. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, can anyone hear me okay?
Loud and clear, sir. Tap your screens, by the way, folks. Get your boy to 5,000 likes. Go.
Okay. I'm not going to be on here long, but what I wanted to say is congratulations to all those who won. And you like I said last night, I hope we can work together.
Okay. I want to know
not saying it's going to happen, not saying it's not. So.
What do you think caused the Democrats to perform better than expected?
In certain states, I think, okay, so what I think happened, okay, is that especially in Pennsylvania there was a ticket split, is what I like to call them, okay, or a vote split, okay. So meaning what happened was that they may have gone for one candidate, Republican, and then gone another candidate, Democrat.
Right. Let me ask you this to clear the air. Do you believe, based on your analyzation of what we had last night, there was any cheating of any significance? Do you believe any of the elections were stolen from any of the candidates all over the nation? Have you seen any election that appears to be stolen from someone?
I have seen some.
Give me an example.
Mainly in Arizona, there has been proof that, and it was on the news, right?
Which election? Which election are you talking about?
In Arizona, I'm talking about the governor race in Arizona.
Okay.
There has already been reports of votes not going through.
Yeah, but that sounds like impropriety in the election. It doesn't sound like it was stolen. That doesn't sound like that's something that was orchestrated by the other side.
That's fraud, though. At any point, that is considered fraud.
But, okay, fraud by who, though? If the voting machines are down, are you suggesting that one side did that deliberately?
Yeah. Yeah, because what happens is that I think that they're looking at the votes. Okay, well, maybe if we can stop these votes from coming through, they won't win.
Okay, I get the point you're trying to make. I don't know if there's any evidence. The machines didn't work. And by the way, thank you for the TikTok hat there, the GOAT. Appreciate the generosity. But what I'm asking is, just because the machines went down, we know computers and electronics break down all the time. Does that automatically mean that somebody deliberately tampered with it?
Oh, to me, only God knows. Only God knows the full truth. I wasn't there. I truly don't know 100%, but it's just a theory that I have.
All right, fair enough. That's okay. At least you're admitting it's just a theory based on, as opposed to saying it's based on any solid evidence. So fair enough. Crispy, I got to move it on. I'm having an abbreviated lunch break. So you know how you're always welcome back, but I got to move it on. All right,
Thank you. Have a good day.
looking
Bye-bye.
in, you too. In the comments, when one side controls the machines, says Glenn Hawkins. Well, in every election, one side has more control than the other. Appreciate the crown and the eye makeup. Who the hell sent that? Let to give you thank you there, but it didn't tell me who sent that. Yeah, but anytime you say one side has control, they're going to do things that are ill. I mean, that happens. You had Governor Kemp. That's why Stacey Abrams was complaining in 2020. It's because Governor Kemp was also responsible for the oversight of the election. It is what it is. I don't know if there's any way to satisfy folks suggesting that elections were stolen. You could hire a third party affiliate to oversee things, but then what people are going to do is dig into the background of members of that third party. Okay, we hired you as a third party to oversee what's going on in my city, but I just found out the CEO of your company donated money to Trump or donated money to Biden. So there's no way to avoid this. The only way you could possibly avoid it is to have people overseeing the election that don't vote at all. And that's just not the American way. Looking in the comments, says, we got the House, says user 604. Just like Biden currently has the Senate. But at the end of the day, how good has it been? You need a more of a dominant presence in controlling of the House or Senate. Certainly if you want, for you Republicans, my beloved MAGA folks who want to impeach Biden, for instance, you're not going to do it just by barely having control of the House. Because there are going to be some Republican Congress people that are not going to be down with a revenge attack on Biden. You need a lot of seats. You need exactly what they were predicting, the red wave that didn't happen. Now I want to read this to you, and I'll go right back to the box. This is the performance in their first 2 years in office for the last 5 presidents. And I'm going to read this to you because this is what red waves and blue waves and tsunamis are all about. President Clinton, after 2 years in office in 1994, got trounced in the midterms. He lost 54 seats in Congress. Bush actually gained 8 seats, but we were at war. He had 9/11 sentiment behind his back, so Bush is an outlier. President Obama, the worst on the list, took a shellacking in 2010. He lost 63 Senate seats. That's fucking huge. That's what you need if you want to impeach Biden. President Trump, after his first 2 years in 2018, he lost 40 Senate seats. The reason I'm reading this off to you is I strongly believe, other than President Bush, who gained 8 seats after his first 2 years in office because of the September 11 issue, Biden is probably going to perform the second best on his list. Biden is starting to turn into the old man engine that could. He's getting victories where he should not be getting them. And I contend this because you guys keep sending Trump. At the end of the day, Biden is not going to lose a hell of a lot of congressional seats compared to Trump, Obama, or Clinton. Going back to the box, and it's because you guys keep sending Trump. Bionic Man Keith. Sir, welcome to the program. A friend of the program, Bionic Man Keith. Good afternoon.
Hey, how's it going, Tim?
It's going good. What happened last night?
I think that a woman's right to choose had a big impact on this. I think
we kept hearing it was all, what they say, it's the economy's stupid. It was all about the inflation, gas prices, and the economy. That was the 1-2 issue. I think crime was in there and the border. As you say, turns out Roe versus Wade was a lot more important than they thought.
Like here in California, they actually had that on the ballot. Where we actually,
really?
Yes. I believe that there was 3 states that actually had that on the ballot.
Wow.
Where we actually voted for that.
Yeah, but California was already expected to go blue, though. Nobody expected the Republicans to do well in California.
No, I mean, you do have, congressmen in California. I mean, land-wise, California is really red, but there's nobody that lives there. You know what I mean? Like the east side of California, if you look at the map, is pretty red, but the population wise is all on the west side of California.
Yeah, but that's any state. Even if you look at a hardcore blue state like Illinois, where Chicago is as blue as you can be, if you look at a county map of Illinois, it's mostly red. That's just about every state in the union. Rural areas tend to be red. And I contend it is because the Republicans have a diversity problem. When you put all of the people in one area, they always vote Republican. Areas that are predominantly white can be counted on to vote Republican. But diversity is the worst enemy of the Republican Party. They have a diversity problem.
Yeah. I mean, you have like certain Hispanic communities, like the Cubans, that will vote like more towards the Republicans, but you know, that's divided up.
Yeah,
like South Americans will vote red, Cubans will vote red, Central Americans will vote blue. It's like that's just kind of how it's divided up.
Yeah. Well, and what's the saving grace of that is they've been able to successfully label the liberals as socialists. In the countries you're naming, a lot of those countries like Venezuela and Cuba, they're escaping socialism. So when they come to America and everybody's saying the Democratic Party is a socialist, well, shit, we don't want to get involved in that, which I would suggest is a misnomer. The Democrats aren't promoting anything remotely close to Cuban or Venezuelan socialism, but the Republican Party has done a good job in branding the Democrats as socialists leading the country towards Venezuela. It's just not true.
What I wish that they would stop doing, and California is an example of this, and I've worked the polls before, they'll start calling things before the polls are even closed. 6 p.m. last night, with less than 1% reporting, they were already calling Newsom the governor. Now, we all knew that he was going to win in a state like California, but don't do that. The polls are not even closed, and you're doing that. It shows, like, that's where you get a lot of the cuckoo stuff of this is rigged. You know, it's like that. You're going to get that kind of behavior. You're going to get that kind of scrutiny when you're doing that kind of thing. You're showing right on the TV that there's less than 1% reporting, and you're already calling it.
I agree with that. I used to, that's one of the things I've blamed Trump for, is in 2020, he's on television saying he won by a landslide, and you can see the Pennsylvania ticker below him saying 30% of the vote counted, and he's on TV saying, I do agree that it could be harmful to credibility for calling elections too early. I don't know if you can legislate that out and say that a state cannot call an election before, unless they can reasonably prove that there is an insurmountable lead. Like say a candidate's down 30 points and 90% of the vote is counted, and you can assume that even if that person wins all the remaining votes, they still won't come back. But I agree with you, but I don't know how to change that.
I mean, I was watching, because I was flipping back and forth all night long between CNN and between Fox, you know, getting the perspective of both. You know, I'm an independent, so I want like both. And it's like I'm listening to CNN, and they were talking about DeSantis, and they were like, "Oh, the only reason why like one of the analysts on there, the only reason why he won is because they changed the laws in Florida, and like they're making it harder for people to vote." And I'm like, okay, you're no better than the alt-right that is, you know, the crazy like this whole election is rigged. You know, you're doing the same exact thing.
Yeah, they're talking gerrymandering, and even though I do believe that gerrymandering can be a problem, DeSantis won too many fucking counties for it to be fraud. He won damn near the whole state. So it's pretty clear that that state is in love with DeSantis. He won that election handedly. Did gerrymandering help him win it by even more? Maybe, but it's pretty clear that DeSantis was going to win that state. I mean, he won by a lot.
Yeah, he crushed it last night.
Yeah. So how do we view the fact that DeSantis did exceptionally well and Trump did fairly bad? All of his candidates he picked, most of the prominent ones, lost, and other ones are still struggling and hoping for like Herschel Walker's hoping for a revote. How do we look at the fact that DeSantis among Republicans seem to be doing much better than Trump?
Well, as an independent, I want the best Republican and I want the best Democrat up there. You know, that's what I want. I want the best for this country. I want the best of the best running everything. I don't want the Looney Tunes in running the asylum. And a lot of times that's what you have.
Yeah, I could not disagree more. Well, listen, Bionic Man, I'm doing an abbreviated. I gotta move it on. It's always a pleasure talking to you as usual.
Yeah, I was hoping to win that Powerball, Tim. I told you I was gonna finance your run for Congress, but I didn't win it.
Southern California, that guy hit for $2 million. I don't know what the tax man is going to do. It's something related to sodomy, but he still will walk away with a lot of money.
I would have had enough for you. Trust me. You would have made a run at it.
I would have been down for it. Hopefully there's a future for it. Catch you later, man. All right. Okay. Looking in, oh my God, what is G Sergeant USMC? Appreciate your service. It's Trump for president 2024. I don't believe Trump is going to face incarceration. I think that cooler heads will prevail. And because right now I strongly believe if Trump would step up, maybe make a phone call behind the scenes to some of the liberal elites, maybe even some of the Republican elites and say, I'm done, I'm out of politics, I need you to make this shit go away. I think the liberals and the Republicans would bite. I think they would leave that man alone in regards to the cases and things like that are against him. Most of them. I can't speak in regards to the state shit, like what's going on in Georgia, what's going on in New York. Those are state cases. But federally, I think they would leave Trump alone if he got out of politics. Just like Hunter Biden. If Joe Biden says he's not running again in 2024, the whole thing goes away. Just like Hillary Clinton. Lock her up, all of that shit. Now that she's no longer a threat, all of it has went away. At the end of the day, these people want you out the way. That's what they want. You are a threat for national office. They want you out the way. Once you're out the way, they leave you alone. Trump is in the way right now. Looking at the comments. No, he just never has to deal with consequences ever. Improper Bostonia. That is the American way at elite levels. Once you reach the elite levels, you typically do not have to deal with consequences. Shout out to Bill Cosby and some of those folks. They get away with it. I'm just telling you. Normally they do. Occasionally you get one that gets caught, I think Epstein or something like that. But normally, that's the American way. We are a capitalist country. Have money, will travel. You can get away with a whole lot of shit if you got money, which is why I am a strong opponent in regards to denying bail reform. Because the only people that get affected by bail for crimes are poor people. Looking in the comments, they worried more about impeaching him than they did about our country, says trucking firefighter. I don't know if the Democrats and the never Trumpers, rhinos, or whatever you want to call it, are more concerned with impeaching Trump than doing what's right for America. They have a right, like I always say when I talk to MAGA, I defend your right to free speech. Well, I'm going to defend their rights to think what they think. They believe that Trump is fundamentally dangerous to this country. They see what happened on January 6th as Trump deliberately lying about the election. You can disagree and believe what you want to believe. That's fine. I respect your opinion. But they believe Trump is dangerous to this country. Therefore, they don't want him back in office. There are people who strongly believe that Trump's goal is to get reelected and never leave office. So yeah, they're going to focus on that. Just like you believe that maybe you believe that teaching CRT to children is dangerous to the upbringing of your child, or putting them around LGBT issues could be a stunt to their growth. They believe Trump is a danger to the country. They have a right to believe that. Go into the box, or better yet, the comments. Love to have you back in Pittsburgh. Wouldn't mind. I've been to Pittsburgh once or twice, not much though. Trump committed fraud with his fake university and they let a criminal become president. Stephen Bullock, I would submit to you that a lot of these folks have done corrupt shit in their past. I don't believe everything about Hunter Biden is made up, and I certainly don't believe that dad is totally clueless of what his son was doing. I believe Hillary Clinton got crimes in her past. I think Barack Obama is fairly clean just because he literally went from nothing to something so quick. Not to say that he may have not gotten involved in some nefarious activities had he had the time, but he literally went from community organizer to senator to president in a span of a few years. So he didn't have as much time to dibble and dabble. But someone like Biden that's been around at the elite levels of politics his whole life, yeah. Same thing with President Trump. President Trump has been at the elite levels as a realtor, as a businessman, his entire adult life. Yeah, they've done corrupt shit. You just don't maintain that level by being nice. I think the only person that would do some shit like that would be Jimmy Carter. The rest of them are in it for the money. Americans voted for killing, what did that say? Americans voted for killing babies, inflation, welfare, and high crime over the economy. Well done, says Rusty. Well, just like you believe a vote for Biden, a vote for liberals is about killing babies, inflation. What else did you say? It kicked your comment off. But a vote for Republicans, folks are going to argue, is for the oppression of women, rolling back LGBT rights, and a host of other issues on the other side. At the end of the day, a lot of this shit is fear-mongering, but make no mistake about it, voting for Republicans scares the hell out of some people too. You have your right to free speech, so do they. Thank you, Gen Z, for stopping the red wave. We love you. Accidental addict, I think that says. Accident, something like that. But I'll tell you something from the liberal standpoint of liberal side of the aisle. If the liberals ever get 60 votes in the Senate, 60 senators, and can actually really change something constitutional in this country, the number one thing I would tell them to go for, and I'm not talking abortion, they should try to get an amendment for compulsory voting. Meaning that at the age of 18, very similar to having to sign up for the Selective Service, you have to vote by law. I believe the liberals, if they could do that, that would be more beneficial to their party throughout the future than anything else. Because high turnout is almost always valuable, always beneficial for liberals. Now, compulsory voting in a free country, you can't force somebody to vote. But you can force them to answer the ballot, just like jury duty. So come election time, even if you don't like any of the candidates on here, there will be a square that is marked present. So you can state, I acknowledge the ballot. I just don't like any of these fuckers on it. But by law, you have to acknowledge the ballot. If the liberals could get something like that passed, I think the future for the Liberal Party would be fantastic. Or it would make it so that the Republican Party, and I'll go to the box, what I often complain about the issue with the Republicans is that they don't cater to diversity. It is far easier to be a Republican politician, in your humble opinion, in your humble correspondent's opinion, it is far easier to be a Republican politician than a Democratic politician. Why? Because the Republican politicians only cater predominantly to straight, white, Christian voters. Whereas the Liberal Party is catering to LGBT, they got to cater to Muslims, they got to cater to blacks, Hispanics, all of these different groups. It's far easier if you only have to cater to white Christian people. It's much easier. So at the end of the day, if they could pass a law requiring all folks over 18 to answer the ballot, I believe it would be beneficial to liberals. And the Republicans would be strongly against that shit for obvious reasons. Going back to the box. Judge Political. Afternoon, Judge. How are you?
Well, there was not a red tsunami.
No, not at all.
Not even really a red wave. I like what Senator Lindsey Graham said. It was a red mist. So it was mist in the air, you know.
Well,
if you look at the key states that we really kind of needed to be competitive in for 2024, it's a pretty good picture. You know, we're neck and neck still in Georgia, neck and neck still in Arizona. Nevada looks like it's going to go Republican. Wisconsin, the senator there only lost by 1 point. You know, the Democrat only
what
lost.
happened, though? What happened? What caused the Democrats to perform better than expectations? What happened?
I think it was the women. I think it was the overturning of Roe versus Wade. I think that's what they drilled into because I had a competitive district here in Ohio and it flipped. And that man's been in office for 25 years. And the only ad that I seen about him was how he was so anti-abortion and wanted to make, women have abortions. And so I think that played the biggest part. And I think the election deniers also played a good part in it.
Yeah.
And the bad candidates that Donald put up. Because I think if Donald wouldn't have put up Walker and Oz and all these other lunatics, then we probably would have been in trouble.
But you know something? I'll tell you something. In the comments, for instance, I'm seeing folks looks like Clean is saying we went too far to the right, need to come back to the centrist. The Liberal Party with cancel culture, LGBT issues, was being accused of going too far to the left. But like in the comments, I'm seeing folks that are saying that the right wingers went too far to the right, and you're bringing up women. So I'd have to ask you this question. If the Republicans get behind DeSantis in 2024, do you think they could pull it off then?
Look, I'm gonna call a spade a spade. What Ron DeSantis was able to do in Florida was overwhelming. I didn't expect him to get 60-something% of the vote.
Yeah.
Miami-Dade County is a heavily Democratic county. Well, it had been. Shit, for the last 2 elections, it hasn't been. So, and he even Ron DeSantis outperformed Donald Trump in Florida.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if outperforming Trump in Florida, that can be a recipe across the nation because we know Biden didn't win by much. So, yeah, Ron DeSantis runs, we got something to worry about. But I don't think Trump is going to allow him to take his spotlight.
So at this point in time, and I'll ask this to my audience as well, seeing what happened last night, if it comes down, one word in the comments to folks watching, and I'll ask you, well, Judge Political, I'm assuming you lean left, but to folks in the audience that lean right, particularly my beloved MAGA folks, if it comes down to DeSantis versus Trump in the primaries, who you got? After seeing what happened last night to Trump's candidates and seeing how well DeSantis did, who would you have if it comes down to DeSantis versus Trump in 2024? Look at that. A lot of DeSantis coming in.
Yeah. I think Liberal, I think they are waking up. They're starting to realize that Trump has been a poison to their party. However, Trump still has the juice. Trump still calls the shots. And I'm telling you, he's already come up with names with Ron DeSantis. What do you call him? Ron DeSanctimonious?
Yes.
So
Ron DeSanctimonious.
Trump knows that he's a threat, and this is why he's going to start attacking him. I think they're going to run against each other, but I could be wrong.
But what about Jeb Bush, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger? If Trump runs against DeSantis in the primaries, do you think he could destroy him?
Oh, he'll destroy him, but they'll give him, I think they'll talk about him bad enough to ruin his. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think Liz Cheney would run. She knows she doesn't have a chance, but she still can, throw that stuff out there to make him look bad, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, because I don't think Ron talking about January 6th and all that. Ron is just going to try to go policy-wise. Liz Cheney and all of them, they're going to attack his integrity. They're going to attack January 6th. They're going to go after things that we as Democrats kind of want to hear.
Yeah. So I got to move it on, but before I let you go, do you believe at this point Trump is going to announce? I'm seeing folks in the comments saying that Trump is not going to run. Now, Trump stated himself next week he has a big announcement he's going to make at Mar-a-Lago. Do you believe Trump is going to run for president in 2024?
Yes.
Yeah, so do I. What do you guys think in the audience? Yes or no? Is Trump going to run in 2024? I'm seeing folks saying no.
Trump is the candidate. Trump is the candidate that says, "What in the hell do you have to lose?" And that's. See you later.
All right, good talk. Catch you later. All right. Looking in the comments. So some of you guys are saying that Trump is not going to run. You think that Trump is? I'm talking about MAGA. I understand there's liberals in the audience, but I'm asking MAGA. Do you believe Trump is going to run in 2024? And I see somebody said to Ego West, main music number. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. What do you think? Do you think Trump will be on the ballot in 2024? And by the way, folks, let your thumbs not be lazy. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 15,000 likes. Be greatly appreciated. What do you think, West Main?
First off, thanks for having me on. I enjoy listening to you talk.
Thank you.
I'll say this: I voted for Joe Biden in 2020. However, I lean right on most issues.
Wait, whoa. You lean right, but you pick Biden? How the hell that happen?
Well, man, to be honest, I'm probably one of the conservatives that you'd say that I agree with you that I think Donald Trump is a problem for the
Yeah.
Republican Party. And I think last night we saw that. I think that seeing the results out of Florida and seeing how far right DeSantis has taken Florida, despite not having Trump's support, is really incredible. And so I'm one of the conservatives. I would say that I hope that people on the right can see that the future of the Republican Party is not Donald Trump. It's the people like Ron DeSantis. It's the people like Brian Kemp. I think it's interesting to me that basically last night, if you said that the 2020 election was rigged, you lost last night.
That is true. That is, but there's still a significant amount of folks who identify as Republican that support Trump with a significant amount of loyalty. If one of these other people, like you mentioned, DeSantis or Brian Kemp, decides to run for office, and you got Trump heckling them from the stands, can they survive that?
Yeah, I think that's really the question. To be honest with you, I don't think that the base of the Republican Party is ready for the shift that I think needs to happen. I think Donald Trump is a wrecking ball. And I think if DeSantis does run, you know, the mudslinging is coming. And so
But DeSantis is kind of a polished politician. Is he capable of dealing with mudslinging? I mean, I say this all the time. You can talk about policies and things like that, but when somebody get up there and say your mama's ugly, can he handle that type of attacks? You know, when Trump starts talking about hand size and you don't have a dick print and stuff crazy like that. Can DeSantis handle that?
You know, that's the $1 million question. I think if I had to bet, I would say it's going to be tough. But, you know, it really the thing that what last night revealed to me was that the door is more wide open than I maybe thought it was. I think the at least my assumptions, I was expecting last night to be the red wave, like everyone was saying. Obviously, we didn't get that. And so to me, that signals that maybe the GOP base is not as passionate or enthusiastic about where Donald Trump wants to take the party. And maybe they're more open to other options like a Ron DeSantis. And so
what about rolling back Roe versus Wade? Do you think the Republican Party should back off on that?
You know, I think maybe last night showed us, I'll say this. I thought that it was a mistake for the Democrats to be campaigning on abortion rights. I thought that things like inflation and crime were more important to the electorate, and the Democrats were pushing abortion and democracy for the last 6 months, let's say. And I thought that was a mistake. But I was proven wrong. I think that...
You know, I've said on my program several times that although inflation and the economy sucks under President Biden, if a fertile young woman is looking at going to jail for murder for a pro-choice decision, offering her $2 gas is not going to make her overlook that. I totally agree with that abortion turned out to be a much bigger issue than people wanted to admit.
I would agree with you, and I think that's something that the Republican Party is going to have to really wrestle with, whether or not going after the pro-life votes is really worth it. And me personally, I am a pro-lifer, but I definitely understand. I'm also an American, and I believe that the people should have the power. And so it seems like last night we saw that the people were saying, abortion rights are important to us, and so that's something that Republicans are going to have to figure out. I think, Ron DeSantis, he's one of the few Republicans that didn't advocate for an all-out ban on abortion. I think currently in Florida it's a 6-week ban or something like that, which I know Democrats won't like that. But it's not as extreme as some of the other candidates, especially the ones that were endorsed by Donald Trump were.
Like Herschel Walker.
Yes, like Herschel Walker. So I think it'll be interesting to see what the messaging is from the Republican Party going into 2024 regarding, abortion rights. I think that's why we saw, some of the Senate races, because the Senate is who confirms the judges, and we all know that the Supreme Court is a hot topic right now, and there's a lot of people questioning how the Supreme Court could pass something. Could rule how they did on Roe v. Wade as they did. So I think that maybe was a factor in seeing guys like John Fetterman win, or I forget who the other Democratic candidates were in the Senate. But, I definitely would say the Republicans have a tough riddle to solve when it comes to what their messaging is going to be on abortion.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I got to move it on, West Main. Good talk.
All right. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely a pleasure. Welcome back anytime. That's a really on point with the comments. I'm trying to read some of your comments. You're definitely all over the place. It's good shit. I always enjoy the dialogue. Real quick, I get this every broadcast, and I have to elaborate just to let the folks know. I often hear, listen, you're a liberal. Why the hell do you have a MAGA hat on? I see in the comments, sellout, Uncle Ruckus, Uncle Tom, you name it. Let me tell you the purpose of the damn hat. I say this every broadcast. This is a MAGA-friendly audience. Regardless of my name, regardless of my political affiliation, I strongly believe MAGA does not get a fair play in the media, and even in my small little section of social media, I can guarantee you MAGA will always get an ability to speak here without fear of censorship, being blocked, or being banned. The purpose of the hat is like a light in the middle of the night to let them know their voice can be heard here. It's not that I always agree. It's not that I always disagree. But fact of the matter is, appreciate that unpopular. Thank you for that heart. Fact of the matter is that we are not doing this in Washington, and it's causing a hell of a lot of division. The fact that you can come here, even if it's a small, tiny corner of social media, state your point, have civilized dialogue without all the hatred, name calling, and we actually make it work. If we can make this shit work here in this little tiny corner of social media, they can actually do this in Washington. That's what the fucking hat is for. Period. To let them know they're welcome here. To not see the handsome liberal or anything liberal in the title and run from the damn program. Because they understand how the media does not give them a fair play. They will always get one here. So feel free to call me a sellout, an Uncle Tom, an Uncle Ruckus, or whatever name you want to come up with. In fact, feel free to go to another program. There are plenty of programs where you have nothing but liberals bashing the hell out of right-wing politics all the time. There are plenty of programs you can go on where everybody in the box has on the red hat. We don't do that here. Both sides gets a chance to speak. That's too much for you. I understand. Move along. Going back to the box. Shane, good afternoon. Can you hear me there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Thank you for that, Steve. Yeah, thanks for the hat and crown. What's going on with you this afternoon? What's on your mind?
Yeah, the only people who are trying to push DeSantis is the Republican establishment and the media and the left. Trump's still coming, and we don't need DeSantis right now because DeSantis is not going to investigate the FBI. DeSantis is not going to investigate Hunter Biden.
So moving forward for 2024, do you believe this? Do you believe Trump is the best candidate to put forward for the Republican Party?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think about last night, where so many of Trump's candidates lost pretty badly?
Well, according from what I'm seeing, he's 109-9, so an overwhelming majority of them won.
Okay. As opposed to DeSantis, you see how strongly DeSantis performs. You don't see him as being a better choice, huh?
No, DeSantis needs to stay where he's at to keep the state in check. That's the whole fear I have in this coming up election for the presidential election, is that he's going to choose somebody. He's as a vice president, and he's going to take them out of power, and then we're going to have another election to replace that. We don't need that right now. We need to keep the same people in those power and pick somebody else who's not in a position, so that we can keep
So
those seats and keep those.
if you put Trump at the top of the ticket, who do you believe would be a good running mate for Trump? Carrie Lake or someone?
I don't know. No, not she just I don't know. Depends on what this election turns out. We're still waiting, and I don't see how we're still waiting. There seems to be a lot of issues during this election, just with Pennsylvania and Arizona. It's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. What about the idea? People are claiming that the denial of the election has hurt Trump. You don't think that's hurt him at all?
No, because it didn't hurt the Democrats when they denied the election when he ran.
Bro, they didn't. Yeah, but the Democrats said that Russia helped Trump. But at the end of the day, Hillary Clinton conceded to Trump the next day. I mean, she still says it, but you didn't have a huge protest. You didn't have anywhere near 2 years where Trump still is saying it 2 years later. You just didn't get that from Hillary Clinton.
No, you didn't. But again, we're still coming up with stuff. There's still investigations coming, and there's still results coming out. So, I mean, just because you didn't have it right then and there.
Do you think at the end of the day, Trump will definitively prove the election was stolen from him?
I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, do you believe he won by a landslide?
Of course he did.
Okay. And what makes you say that? Like, what is that based on?
Just from the fact that Biden beat Obama. Come on, Obama, the number one president election in the entire history of the election, and Biden beat him. Really?
I mean, but Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson. That didn't look right either, but I saw it with my own eyes. I mean, wouldn't it not be? Isn't that circumstantial though?
Well, I mean, a fight is a fight, because it don't matter. You get one good hit, then anybody can get knocked out.
Yeah,
but when you're talking about numbers of people, everybody, Republican, white, black, female, male, voted for Obama. Those same people did not vote for Biden plus more. There's no freaking way.
Let's say you're correct, and there's no way all of these people supported a candidate that's in this basement like Biden. Why has it been so hard for Trump to prove that? If Trump got millions of votes more than Biden, shouldn't it be fairly easy to prove that?
Okay, let's say, why did Arizona wipe away their servers when that was illegal to do?
Well, but Arizona was red at the time. Why would they?
Well, who cares if they're red? You don't think that there's establishment of red is trying to keep Trump from? They're doing it. Fox News is already trying to push DeSantis. So that's Republicans trying to push DeSantis and say, no, Trump is lost. Trump is done. This is Republicans doing this to Trump. So, I mean, there's people against Trump that are still red.
So you think all of these Republicans and liberals just acted in concert with literally hundreds of thousands of people all over the country acted in concert to cheat Trump out of the election, and he's not been able to prove any of this?
Do I think they're in cahoots with each other? No, they're all basically, they have their own agenda. Democrats don't want Trump because they know they're going to be investigated. Just like how the FBI, they found out that the FBI paid this guy to come up with dirt. They said, hey, we got $1 million if you can come up with something that we can prove that's fake. This guy couldn't come up with anything. He didn't get paid, but the FBI pushed the stuff to the judge anyway to sign off on the warrant.
So
They know that
if
if
what you're
DeSantis wins, they're not going to investigate that.
okay, fair enough. So if what you're saying is true, how could he possibly lose so many court cases? I mean, you couldn't convince one judge that what he was saying was legitimate.
He couldn't convince anybody to take on the case. There hasn't been anybody willing to look at it. Now they're willing to
Why
look at
not? Trump had a lot of friends and allies. You can't convince one person to take
it
on the case. Why not?
because it was just conjectures and theories. There wasn't actual solid proof. You can say, well, this doesn't make sense, but that's not enough for a judge to take a case. Like, just because you think it doesn't make sense and you're like, well, this doesn't mean anything. But now they're coming up with stuff like, hey, look, we've got actual proof of people's cell phones showing up at these ballot boxes over and over and over and over again, as you'd think in the documentary 2000 Mules. Like, why is the same person coming up at ballot stations over and over and over and over again? How many family members does he really have that he's going to the same ballot drop box over and over and over and over again?
I get your point. So let me ask you this, because this is something Chris Christie said. I know you guys don't have a lot of love for Chris Christie, former New Jersey governor, but he stated in his book that in order for the Republican Party to move on, they need to stop rehashing the grievances of the past and move towards showing people what they have in store for us for the future. In other words, constantly bringing up shit that happened in the past, similar to what us African Americans get told on a daily basis, but constantly bringing up what happened in the past is not going to help the Republican Party out. So he's saying you guys need to get over the 2020 election and stop talking about it. How do you feel about that?
Somebody who's probably afraid of investigation should be saying that. You don't think the Republican Party can't multitask? Do one thing, also do the other?
It's a good comeback. It's a good question.
I mean, we can't let this go. Even if you're a Democrat, you've got to understand FBI saying, hey, here's $1 million. Please come up with something shady about this particular person. You have to investigate that. DeSantis is not going to investigate it. He's just going to go and do the normal DeSantis thing and try to improve the economy and all this other stuff. And he's going to put all the other stuff, like what Chris Christie wants to do, to the back burner. We don't need to do that. We need to figure out why the hell did the FBI beg this guy and say, hey, we got $1 million. Please come up with something against this guy.
Okay. So if you believe Trump is so good at exposing corruption and going after the corrupt, how did he start out running for office in 2015, saying the elections are rigged, and then lose in 2020 under the same claim that the election got rigged? Start off in 2015 saying Hillary Clinton is corrupt and needs to be locked up. In the election in 2020 without Hillary Clinton ever being investigated for a single crime under his term. If Trump is so good at investigating things and bringing corruption to light, why did he not fix the election or go after Hillary Clinton?
Because you also need a House and a Senate to help you. The president doesn't have as much authority as a lot of people think. They need the House, and because guess what's going to happen now? Biden ain't going to be able to push shit.
So let's go with what you're saying, that the president can't do it all by himself. He needs the House and Senate. So in other words, even though you believe that Trump would expose the FBI if he's reelected, if he gets reelected in 2024 and he doesn't have strong control of the House and Senate, you're essentially admitting he may not do shit again. Because as you said, he can't do it by himself.
But he's not going to sit on the wayside and not even mention it and keep bringing it up. You know damn well he's going to keep bringing it up. But DeSantis ain't going to bring it up. He's going to forget all about it.
Well, he's bringing up the election constantly, and that's getting them nowhere. Bringing it up doesn't do anything. Either you're going to solve it or you're not. Just talking about it all day is not helping anything out.
Bringing it up has also helped bring out this documentary, 2000 Mules. Bringing it
up is why he's sitting in Mar-a-Lago, I would contend. I'll give you the last word. I got to move it on, but go ahead.
I don't have no last word.
Shane, it's always a good talk, man. Come on back anytime.
Yep.
Appreciate you. All right, looking in the comments. Here we oh my God, here we go. 2,000 sheep. In regards to 2,000 mules, your humble correspondent, yours truly, I have seen the movie, the documentary, 6 times. I've had multiple shows on this platform with MAGA. We discussed it. I will continue the same thing I've said in every discussion we had on it. I believe Dinesh D'Souza did show evidence that there was voter